Heart First leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrated Mindset Podcast. I am Ryan Sawyer, your co-host, alongside here with
Heidi Sawyer,
the one and the only. Here we go. We're going to be doing our final podcast here on the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, which means we are on commitment number 15. And we've been doing this for about 17 weeks now. Yeah. And it's been a wonderful journey. It's brought us some great conversation. It's about a great conversation amongst our team of coaches, each other, our family, our kids, and really made some amazing shifts. You know, it's anything when it comes to terms of spiritual growth, of evolution, of transcending, of consciousness, of commitments as leaders. Like, you think that you do this work and then you come back around to it and you realize, I lost connection with this piece or that piece. And, you know, one of the things that brought to my awareness as I was reading this 15th chapter this morning, and I was kind of just thinking about our journey going through these together is, you know, we become such like consumers. If you're someone who listens to this podcast, chances are you're a consumer like me when it comes to like growth, right? And you're constantly thinking, oh, it's the next book, it's the next thing, and here's another podcast, and listen to this. And the more stuff that I consume, the better. And constantly keeping myself in that place, you know, and constantly be seeking for the next piece of information or content to digest. But I also think that there's merit. There's merit to having a foundational number of books or mentors that you're currently following or that you're revisiting, and to identify those, you know, because we can get caught up in this loop of just constantly pulling in new information, and then sometimes the messages get distorted. And so the reason why I bring this up, not to, you know, tell you, you know, but I have very specific mentors in my life that I continuously follow and that I revisit their books or their work or their podcasts or spend time with them in person or whoever that may be, however that looks. But this is one of those books to me that deserves a revisit, at least, you know, once a year, once every couple of years, whatever it is, right? There's other books like The Untethered Soul is one that I revisit. Michael Singer's work is one that I revisit. David Hawkins is something I revisit. I mean, I'm still not through all of his work, so I'm not done, you know.
But letting go.
The idea of letting go, the book Letting Go, or The Untethered Soul, you know, these types of books, obviously, and Mark Divine's work, The Unbeatable Mind, constantly, you know, just checking in with what he's putting out, that's new or different. And, you know, just to know, like, there's some stuff there that we can come back and we can look at it, because even reading this book this time through, I remember going through this book very vividly years ago. And this was the first time we revisited it in a handful of years. And going through it this time brought so much of a different realization or awareness to what it meant to live above the line or below the line. And our dog is chewing up my pillows.
Our puppy. Yeah.
Hey, Chewy. And so anyway, so, you know, just to encourage you to revisit things, because when you do, you're going to come to it with a new level of mind that's going to allow for you to be able to receive different lessons and gifts from that, some of that same body of work that maybe you visited a year or 2, 5 years ago.
No, I agree with you. And I think it's also a great kind of a trail marker or measurement of sorts to see how much you have changed and evolved and grown when you check in with a piece of content or a book that you've read in the past, and then you check in with it again and see how you are taking that information and putting it into, you know, hopefully into practice, or you're finding examples or ways that fits into your life, and how that is so different from the first time that you read it or consumed it. So yeah, I think that's super interesting and a good practice to limit the number of mentors and things that you're taking in and be really intentional about that, but also to continuously check in with things.
Yep. So let's read commitment number 15. We'll see where the conversation goes. we haven't really chatted much about where this conversation was go between the two of us yet. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's been a busy week so far. So commitment number 15, being the resolution. I commit to being the resolution or solution that is needed, to seeing what is missing in the world as an invitation to become that which is required. The below the line commitment is I commit to responding to the needs of the world with apathy or resentment and doing nothing or assigning blame to others.
And the first place my mind goes again is right out of the gate. This is kind of bringing up the same conversation we've touched on multiple times of this idea of victim consciousness. Living beneath the line is victim consciousness, which we all dip into, whether we want to acknowledge it or be aware of it or not. And then above the line would be in, creator, or what we call the hero, they call the hero something different, but the creator consciousness, one where life is really truly happening through us, by us, rather than to us. Right. And so, when we see, when opportunities happen, when circumstances happen, I mean, it's very simple. It's a very simple practice to take a look at what's happening out there in the world. What is the current circumstance or obstacle that I'm being faced with? And be able to recognize, like, number one, the first aspect of this, how is this for me? How does this lead to growth, right? That immediately sense of curiosity is going to pull you above the line. And then to recognize, like, what is the specific way that I can to contribute in this scenario? And this one, to me, I believe is more in the sense of contribution than anything else.
Yeah. I think it's looking at something that's undesirable or you don't want to have happening in the world out there, and either looking at it from lack or, like they said, apathy and blame, or looking at it as an opportunity for creation, for abundance, for a new solution.
Yeah.
It's like two different sides of the coin. And in any given situation, in any moment, we have a choice to choose to be the creator or to choose to be the victim of our circumstances.
One of the things that I love that I'm talking about when it comes to that choice that you're talking about is they mentioned this pendulum swing that seems to happen if you're living in relationship to this commitment as it's happening to you or beneath the line, is one where you go from, high performing, overachieving, accomplishing, working really hard, and really getting yourself to the next stage financially or within your business or relationship or life or whatever it is. And then there's this big swing where, like, oh, well, now, I need to completely unplug and remove myself from the world. And oh, geez, if people weren't being this way, then, you start to talk about economics and politics and employees are like this or whatever it is, right? Like, but there's these seems to be these pendulum swings, this kind of seasonal way of living, which I can very vividly look back at my life and say, that's exactly how I used to operate. I was conditioned to operate that way for multiple reasons. Number one, being an athlete and a football coach, where there was a definite season. There's 3 or 4 months where you were gas pedal, and there was no break. But this idea of having to go into these experiences of forcing to accomplish, to achieve, right, is just as much coming from a place of I'm not enough and there's not enough. So I have to overcome not being enough to prove to the world that, I can do this, or to get myself to a different situation where I feel like I have enough, right? Resources, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So one of the pieces that I love here, the 2 words that I wrote down when you were reading the commitment. Actually, would you just read it for me one more time?
Yeah. I commit to being the resolution or solution that is needed, seeing what is missing in the world as an invitation to become that which is required. We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
All right. So the solution to commit to being the solution rather than the problem, right? Which it's very, very easy for our minds to ruminate in what we think is wrong with the world, right? So turn off the TV.
Yeah.
When you notice something wrong,
Right.
This is what I would say to people. And I remember very, very clear conversations I had with people, especially even around COVID time when everybody was up in arms about something, one side or the other.
Right. Yep. Depending on who you're talking to.
Right. And if you're going to digest a ton of information about politics or whatever, then my next question becomes, what are you doing about it? This comes back down to a very fundamental component of being human is if we don't do something with the information that is coming in, it leads towards a practice of either repression or suppression that then creates a pressure cooker within us, right? So we take in information. The goal is to recognize the information I'm taking in, the experiences I'm having is how can I, number one, be a part of the solution? Rather than if I'm not a part of the solution, the only other option is part of the problem.
Right. You're either actively participating in the quote unquote problem or you're feeding energy to it because of your negative association with it.
Right.
And how you're talking about it.
Even just avoiding it.
Right.
Avoidance is part of the problem.
Yeah.
Because of not wanting to feel something, that resistance, not wanting to address something, that resistance adds energy to the problem, right? So if number one is this idea that we will commit to being the solution. Number two is look for what is missing and allow for this to become an invitation of becoming, right? So this idea of becoming, like that's my ball game, right? I just love this idea that I'm constantly creating a model for our lives, for our business, for ourselves, for myself individually of that this is the model of which I am becoming. This is the worthy ideal that which I am becoming. And then to be able to look at my life and say, how am I going to be with what I'm having as a circumstance or a situation within my life that's going to allow for me to rehearse, practice, and fortify this version of myself that I say I want to become. Right. So this is fundamentally, I believe, what we identify or think as what we think is a purpose.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know what their purpose is in life. Right. Everybody, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? Right. Okay. Well, here is the fundamental truth that I believe is that this idea of a much larger human purpose will be uncovered when we just embark upon our life in an incremental way towards growth and towards a worthy ideal. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. We're talking about this idea. I'm coming back to this idea of being the solution for what is missing so I can become. Right, these three words.
Right, because it drives you to who you're becoming.
That's right.
Yeah.
So when I recognize there's a problem, this is an invitation for me to then work on who I want to become, becoming the version of myself that can solve such problem. How do I solve such problem is to figure out what is missing. What I like to tell people is find the hole in the universe that you see. Because here's the thing. Here's the unique thing about each and every single one of you and each and every single one of us as humans is that we all have a unique specialty role or specialty function. There is something that is a hole or is missing in the world, in your environment that only you can fill. Right. And then
100%.
And then to go a step further is to recognize that because of who I am and who I am becoming, the tone of voice, my posture, my all the everything I am using as mechanical output towards you, not only that, but what I actually see in you, in somebody else, will uniquely bring out a quality or an attribute within that person that only I can bring out. Right. And so there's this component when it comes to this idea of being the resolution that is the 15th commitment here. So knowing what the problem is, so we know how we could potentially be able to solve it, recognize what is missing, and then to identify that and to accept the fact that you might be the only one who sees it.
Mm-hmm.
You might be the only one who sees what is missing in this world, in your community, in your family, in your environment. Then now this becomes your unique gift or role to the world, right?
Yeah.
So you may not be in the role that you currently want, the identification of a role that you currently want within a career or job, or even your business. Let's say you're a business owner and your business isn't where you want it to be. Okay. The only way that I know to get it there as quickly as possible and have it be the best for everybody to live above the line is for you to recognize who it is you want to become, right? And then to go ahead and be that version of yourself and to fill whatever hole is potentially missing within your current circumstance or situation. What I mean by that is to be this highest impact version of yourself in your current circumstance or situation. That's what's going to lead you, like using your current obstacles, scenarios as your vehicle for growth, for you to practice and to rehearse seeing what can be the solution, what is missing, and who you're becoming, and practice that relationship to life in a way where then now your larger purpose naturally unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
I did this with my own life, however many years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago. I remember the day, and I'm driving down I-90. I'm in Spokane. I'm heading east, and I'm right passing the Barker Street exit. Like I remember exactly where I was. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone, and I had this wave of acceptance that came over top of me, just like this absolute clarity that if I wanted to live a different life, if I wanted to have a different business model, if I wanted to become the best version of myself that would be able to execute what I saw was missing in the world, I first had to fill it right there in front of my face. I had to recognize what was missing in terms of my current business model. So I was running my residential painting company, and I could see these different holes in the universe of mental and emotional well-being and of people who are learning how to use their minds and govern their minds. I was learning these different concepts and aspects, but I wasn't teaching them and I wasn't bringing them to my own environment.
Yeah, that's huge.
Right. Yeah. And so then I had this acceptance like, oh, well, if I want to be a coach and a podcaster and an author and a speaker and do these different things, well, if I don't do that for my own little tiny painting company, which at the time had 3 employees and me total, right? If I don't do it for those individuals and for myself in this environment, how am I ever going to justify me progressing towards a place where I'm going to be able to do it on a larger scale at all for anybody else, right? And now here we are today with, multiple crews in our residential painting company out working without our involvement, right? We do a little bit of consulting and things of that nature, but really without our involvement. This Friday, I'm going to pull the whole team together and sit them down in a room to do this very thing that I'm telling you that I did 4 years ago, that I started living day in and day out 4 years ago.
You started doing the Mindset Mondays.
I started that next week is when I started doing Mindset Mondays and meeting with my painting crew for an hour every Monday and teaching them something about breath work, about mindfulness, about emotional resiliency, about emotional intelligence. About emotional intelligence, about how the mind works and how to liberate yourself and how to free yourself and how to be more mentally tough. And I started taking the guys down to train with, the Navy SEAL group of Unbeatable Mind. And I took employees down to California and we trained, right? And I completely lived what I saw was missing in the world within my tiny little business. And that's when things begin to happen that was able to shift our lives, grow the business, grow ourselves, and grow our life to have this experience.
I love that so much. And like what I was visualizing is these circles spanning out from you have yourself in the center, right? You're the kind of the starting point of it. And then there's these ripples that come out from there. So starting with yourself, and then whoever is in your immediate circle. Is that your immediate family, in your home, your partner, the person that you live with, the people that you interact with every day, your employees, your coworkers, your community, and it just kind of spans out from there. But just when we're focused on being the best version of ourselves that we can be first, then we can start to see those opportunities. We can start to see those invitations to kind of span out gradually from there. And as we continue to do that, each circle that we expand into grows our capacity, grows our ability to step into the version of ourselves that is filling that hole in the universe. And it invites us to the next version of that.
Yep.
Right. So as we learn, we continue to be invited to the next thing,
Right. So like your purpose evolves, your specialty role. My specialty role in that small little tiny painting company was for me to create an environment of growth. Like that's where the environment of growth was born, right? Of which now we coach and teach, of the 6 C's within the environment of growth that are all, whatever. And so that was when I was like, well, if I can't create an environment here with these men in this scenario where I'm around them every day, if I can't create an environment of growth with them, like I have no business going out there and doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to start at home,
at home,
so to
right?
speak.
And so I saw the problem. I knew the solution. I saw what was missing. I then filled that hole. And then that's what led to the next. So your purpose in one scenario, in one situation may be, and I don't know why I use this term because I used to do it with my grandpa when I was in my teenage years. I used to dig these drainage ditches, and it was back-breaking work. And in the area that I had put these ditches in, it was like super rocky, right? And so, that's why I say whether you're digging ditches, right, legitimately digging ditches, and you figure out a way how to be this version of yourself that you're being invited to become in that situation, right? Maybe you create a new tool that makes digging ditches easier. I don't know. Or you've come up with a new and different way, a process to make it more efficient, or to whatever.
Or you build a ton of grit and resiliency because you're doing something really hard, and you're able to share that with other people.
Which builds this credibility and feeds into your confidence. So when the next thing that comes up, you're ready for it. Like this moment is preparing you for the next. So being the resolution, being the solution, seeing what's missing, and making that be an invitation of who it is that you can become is, I believe, what ties all of the other commitments together. Obviously, why it's their final commitment, but I'm agreeing with them as saying, like, what if we all took this as an invitation to look at our current circumstance of our life, no matter what you're doing or where you are, and to recognize you're in the exact perfect scenario, circumstance, or situation for your growth and evolution. Every single one of us is in the exact perfect scenario, circumstance for our growth and for our healing, so we can work on ourselves to become the version of ourselves that's able to fill what we see as missing. And then when we do that, when we stop wondering and wishing we knew what our purpose was, or what I really want to do with my life, or what do I want to be when I grow up, right? All these different things. I'm wondering, I don't know, right? It's good to be in a place of wonder and curiosity, but it's also this fine line of being able to come back and say, how can I be the best version of myself right here, right now, today, in this moment? If I was the best version of myself, the highest impact version of myself that I can think of, like, how would I be right here, right now? What would I would bend over and pick up that trash. Go ahead then. I find myself doing that all the time. I'm walking by and I'd be like, oh, the best version of myself would pick that trash up, but I keep walking. Yeah. I'm like, well, no. The best version of you just said to yourself that you would stop and pick up that trash, but then you didn't.
Yeah. I saw someone at a soccer game kick an empty Gatorade bottle out of the way instead of picking it up. And I had this moment of judgment, like, why didn't they just pick it up and put it in the trash? And then I immediately heard this voice in my head say, why don't you pick it up and put it in the trash?
Go ahead then. Yeah, go ahead then. Yeah,
go ahead then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. And I think that's how purpose is unfolded to us. And the
Mhm.
purpose then grows. The human purpose, there's a spiritual purpose that we all have, that it's all the same. It's growth, it's to evolve, is to realize the truth of where we came from, where we're going, right? Deep conversation, not going there today.
Mhm.
But our human purpose will then unfold before us
Mhm.
when we are able to look and see what is missing. And then we go like, you know what, to
Mhm.
fill that hole.
Yeah. And I think some ways that you can notice what is missing or what seems to be the problem in your own life. Like for me, one of the great clues is, what am I judging? Because usually what I'm judging is the thing that is there for me to be doing.
Yep.
Right. Doing the opposite of.
Mm.
As a point of inspection, something to check in within yourself. So I love that. Just the things that you find yourself complaining about, judging, getting frustrated about things that you're seeing out in the world. What can you do to be the resolution, to be the solution to that problem? Just starting with yourself and your immediate environment.
Yeah, and I think it helps to just mention this. Conversation is a big part of like uncovering this. Being with somebody, talking to somebody that helps you to like kind of just unpack, what it is you're currently facing, and to see how is that for you. How does this lead to growth? How can I contribute? All right.
Mhm.
What hole do I see? What could be fixed? And I'm telling you, here's where people get hung up. Like, it could be the smallest, most minute thing, and you think, oh, that's insignificant. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if that's what you see, it's a test.
Yeah.
I don't care how small it is, it's a test. Fill it.
You hear these stories all the time. Like, I saw something recently. Someone was making these really, really cool custom, stuffed animals, but they were making them out of baby clothes. So people would send in their keepsake, their favorite outfits or blankets or things that their baby had. And maybe it was for people also who have lost a child, right? So it's really special. And they're sending this in, and this person found a way to take these scraps of fabric and make them into something really beautiful and of value to the people that they're serving. And that might have been an idea that they thought, it would be really wonderful if there was a way to keep these things, not just in a shoebox somewhere or stuffed away, but something that you could actually hold and look at. And they had that idea, and they could have brushed it off and said, that's insignificant. But look, it's now impacting people in a positive way and giving people this beautiful, memory.
Yeah. And so
it could be something kind of obscure like that.
Obscure
too.
And simple.
Yeah.
And what you might feel like in the moment is insignificant. And here is where, on the much larger scale, this one's sometimes a little bit hard to absorb and to accept, but there is no higher than or lower than, good or better, right or wrong, right? There is just each one of us where we currently are based upon our level of development, our consciousness, our upbringing, but we are been placed here for a specialty, unique gift and function. And we are not able, I think you asked me this the other day, and I can't remember exactly how you asked it to me, but I went into some big old rant and then I forgot all about it. But we were driving in Liberty Lake somewhere. I remember that, but I don't remember what you asked me exactly, but it was something along the lines of how we are able, do we have one specialty function or role? And then how do we develop them? Right. Mm-hmm. And there's no way of knowing exactly like the different components of your unique and specialty role, other than being able to span your life, being able to like span the horizons of your past life, then look at your current circumstance and span forward and say like, how can I bring what I've experienced to the table in a way that is able to not only serve myself, but serve humanity, mm-hmm. right? How can I serve humanity in my current circumstance of life? no matter how small or how big in your mind that is no more important. Somebody who's doing X out there in the world that's very visible with, let's say, millions of dollars and making this really large impact of people getting fresh water, that is no more important than somebody opening the door for an elderly lady or something like that. Like one act of kindness, one act of filling some sort of a void or hole that you see missing in the world is no more important than the next. Mm-hmm. And where this always begins is, like we've talked about multiple times on this, is within relationship to ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, being able to fill that void, fill what is missing, be the solution to our own life, and to use that as an invitation of becoming, and then being able to project back out and say, how can I contribute, no matter how small it is? Because what is being placed in front of us is like a little test. It's like, I believe the universe is saying, are they going to do it? Like, I'm giving them the awareness and the nudge. Like, motivation always starts with a whisper. Right. And I'm not sure where I heard that in the past, but I know I wrote about that a little bit.
It's fleeting if you don't act on it.
And so here's this little nudge to pick up the wrapper, you know, from your kid's soccer field. Right. And then there's this little bit of a nudge when you see somebody, you know, the other day I saw someone pushing their car because they had ran out of gas, and, you know, and it's like, oh, pull over, hop out. If you got time, you know, help them push their car off the road. Right. Like these little tiny things that you see. And I know we all have them because I have it all the time. I don't act upon them all the time. And they're all tests. Like, oh, you know, I should go do that. Or I should give them a little bit more of a tip. You know,
a service person.
A service person. Like, you know, that $15 to them is maybe a much larger amount of money than it is to me. Like, all these little nudges of things that you're thinking about doing that would make an impact on somebody else's life, they're all little tiny tests. And it's like, oh, he said yes to that. I'm going to give him another one. And the next one's going to be a little bit bigger in your mind. It's going to take a little bit more of a sacrifice. It's going to take a little bit more of your time and energy, right? It's no more important than the other ones, but it's going to take a little more. It's going to take a little bit more, like overcoming your past conditioning. It's going to take a little bit more of the becoming aspect of you, right? Yeah. And so then you say yes to that and you do it. You take on the challenge, right? And so then you're going to be given with another opportunity of seeing this problem, recognizing the solution, seeing what's missing, and this art of becoming, of going ahead and just be that version of you that does that thing now. Don't wait until later when you have the resources or the time or the money or the energy or the whatever. Just do that thing. Do that thing now.
There's always going to be a reason not to do it right now. Yeah. I was thinking about how a friend of ours owns a yoga studio, and so she asked if I would teach a Pilates class there. And when I said yes to it, I'm like, I don't really know what this looks like. I don't know how long I want to do it for. I don't know if I'm going to like it, whatever. But yes, sure. So it's been an interesting experience. I feel like that has been one of those yeses that has grown me. It's expanded me in some different ways, showing up and doing things that I hadn't done before. But it seems sort of insignificant, but it's just a dot connecting to the next one, to the next one, to the next one.
It's building your confidence just a little bit. So now your confidence is at a higher level when it's time for the next challenge to come in. So when the next challenge comes in, you're able to say, well, I did this, so I can do that, and let's go. Right. And this is this incremental way of realizing and taking on challenges and being curious about how you can contribute in your significant role and what skills that you can develop that's going to allow for you to contribute at a higher capacity later. Right. And this is very, very deep and very important work that that we do on the back end, in the sense of, you know, when people have been working with us for quite some time, we have a course called Momentum, and our Momentum course is legitimately us understanding aspects of growth and of evolving our consciousness in a way that says, hey, let's identify a specific, unique challenge that allows for me to recognize a hole that is missing in the universe, and then for me to develop the skills to be able to fill that hole. right?
Mhm.
And then we obviously have all kinds of actionable steps behind it. But yeah, so
Yeah, I love that. And not to get so serious about it that it's like, oh, hey, I'm going to go teach Pilates. So that means that's my purpose now. No, it's not.
no, your
It's
purpose is to
just
grow.
something that you're doing to grow. And then you'll do the next thing to grow. And then you'll do
Mhm.
the next thing and so on. So I think people get, we can get really caught up in that, trying to define our purpose and think that it's one thing, but it's really just a series of a lot of different things and a lot of different moments that help us on the path of becoming who it is we're here to be, and remembering who it is we're here to be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The becoming piece is important. So
Yeah.
we're wrapping up this book series. We may or may not do another book in the future if one sparks our interest to do it. There's all kinds of books that we would love to do this with, but we're going to go back to our normal format. We'll probably have a few people on as guests here in the future that are people that are either within our
IHP community,
community, coaches or people who are contributors to the work that we have put together, right? And to continue the conversation of understanding what it means to have an integrated mindset of living above the line, right? Is the work that we do. And so we're even going to put it out there that we would like to offer coaching on this podcast. Yeah. So if you're somebody who watches the podcast on a regular basis and you have something that you love the kind of stuff that we're talking about, you love this mindset that we're teaching, and you would love to be supported in us being able to potentially, help you have a little bit of a paradigm shift, a perspective change within a circumstance or a situation in your life, we would love to have, maybe once a month or something like that, a guest on that is willing, and you can keep it nameless, or you can change your name, or we can turn off the video, whatever, right? And for us to be able to unpack some things. And so not only the individual themselves that are coming to the table, we're able to give them a shift, but we're able to also show you, the people who are listening, the incredible tools that we are able to use in action and see how they can radically shift, legitimately turning your world upside down, inside out. Like, that's what we teach. We take people's perspective of how they orient themselves to the world, because I know this is how it works, because this is how it's worked for me, right? Is legitimately like flip it, and to go from the top down and from the inside out in a way that is makes your life more fulfilling and healthier and more peaceful and joyful and abundant and peaceful. And did I say peaceful already?
Yeah, more peaceful.
And more peaceful. So anyway,
yeah.
So that's going to be one of the things that we're going to be doing. So if you're interested in being coached on the podcast, please reach out. And we would love for you to, rate and review the podcast as well, if you're enjoying listening and you're paying attention to what we're doing here. And we're going to be, just going through kind of a series of topics that are going to help us to understand what it means to find a sense of being centered and to be able to operate from that place of safety, of centeredness, of grounded. Like, I believe this is the conversation that everybody's out there trying to have. And we're going to try to pin it down very specifically to certain topics of what it looks like to find our center. And we're also going to have a couple podcasts about, different topics like forgiveness and different things coming up in the near future too. So we're excited to continue this journey together. We're just getting warmed up. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you taking the time out to listen. And again, we'd appreciate a review as well.
Yeah, excellent. Share the podcast with your friends, and we'd love to have you on as a guest as well.
Awesome. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters, and the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.